What's up, guys? It's New. Here we go. Another video. It's another day. It's another 100 maps of farming strong boxes today. We're going to be doing strong boxes. I promised it in the last video at the end. I'll probably be testing rolling strong boxes because I think it's something that people really don't know how good it is. Except I'm not rolling strong boxes. We're going to take a pit stop because I think it'd actually be kind of wise to just go ahead and get this out of the way. Tamper-proof boxes. This is one of the most tried and tested strategies in 3.25 for T17 farming is discernment tamper-proof, which means automatically corrupt rare strong boxes. Just trying to get through that map as quick as possible, get the boss fragment, get a bunch of duped divine orb, duped Valdos boxes, maybe a duped mirror, we'll see. But I got a lot of comments on the last video where I boasted the best farm of the league. I gave my reasons for it in that video. Got a wide variety of comments like for example, wow, Snoo, this is so great. In the second map, I dropped a raw mirror. Oh my god. In the first 10 maps, I already dropped 2 mirrors. I don't have to believe those or not. But people are dropping a lot of mirrors in this strat. And they get some comments like, no, definitely, this is no good. The Bloodline Scarab's crazy overpriced. Did you see what happened to the price of everything? Don't do this strat, I'm losing currency. Yeah, this sort of thing happens. I guess, you know, streamer makes a video and it works really well for some people. It doesn't work so well for other people. I will say I was quite surprised at how much the prices of things skyrocketed after that video, especially since I already made one a full week prior and nothing really happened. I continued farming it on Twitch for like a week straight. Nothing really moved with the prices. The Bloodline Scarab was half a divine the whole time. Then I made one more video and then price fixers all got in a cult together and decided to ruin everybody's day. Anyway, just wait for things to simmer down before you go back to that strat. Maybe I like the idea of maybe just using regular chisels, since for some reason Maving chisels have gone up a lot. But that's all I want to say with the previous farm. That is the reason why I'm doing this one, is because I think some people think that this farm is just head and shoulders above the farm I simply showcased before. Now, it doesn't do a whole lot of good if somebody just says that. I do one farm, they do a different farm, but it means a lot more if I do one farm and then I do this farm. And so it's like a real apples to apples comparison. I want to try to, you know, steel man this farm as much as I can today. So we're going to have a real good sense of where it sits compared to when I ran the other farm that I just made a video for. I'm going to do it as apples to apples as I can. I rolled these maps even better than what they probably should be. But anyway, where did this farm come from? Well, Fubgun made it as popular as anybody did. I don't know if he actually invented the farm, but it came out way early in the league, and it is a Triple Ambush Scarab farm. This is the higher investment version with the containment Scarab. This Scarab is not mandatory on here. You can run a lower investment one with Triple Ambush, and then I believe you keep Potency, but Discernment is the Scarab that matters the most. This is the real culprit to why this strategy that I'm about to show you today is so freaking good. In fact, I think this Scarab is terribly underpriced and or drops way too often for how powerful it is. It is a 10x multiplier to the spawn chance of Arcanists, Diviners, and Cartographers strong boxes, which are some of the rare ones, and that produces some pretty crazy results in currency from those boxes, which we're going to see, which you've probably already seen. So we're going to keep this intro fairly short, but I'm just going to go over the Atlas real quick. This was pulled primarily through from Fubgun's Excel sheet. He has a list of all kinds of atlases. You can check his stream out, and that's where I pulled it from, except I swapped out Beyond for blocking Scarabs and added a little bit more points in here. That's the only critique I have of the Atlas right now. I fear it may not be updated for everybody's realization that Beyond is complete trash for drops. Especially as it pertains to raw currency and or Scarabs. I haven't even once seen a Beyond mob drop a Scarab. Not even sure if it can, to be honest. Yeah, since we're farming Scarabs and raw currency primarily, but mostly through boxes anyway, it's probably a better idea to just block. You know, I think this is kind of the most important thing to do. So, I don't know how all of you feel about that, but I am switching out of Beyond. I don't think it's good. So yeah, that's why I was able to get a few points over here, which these Eater of Worlds nodes are not actually that important because it's a monstrous treasure strategy, the variant that I'm doing. This would actually be more impactful if you're doing the less investments strat. But yeah, I was able to get a few extra points in Scarab. Still able to get singular focus to block out all that stuff. Also able to get a covetous shrine, maybe, but we're using ambush on the map device, so I think only two shrines will spawn. Yeah, 2 shrines, one here, and then, you know, one more. A little bit of a chance to spawn one. And there's going to be a whole lot of strong boxes spawning. Of course, we're taking all the points, including tamper-proof. The important thing here is tamper-proof is here, and all the increased effective modifiers are all here. Yep. And then also, these points here are the 2 most important points for this strategy: Vault of Mysteries and Backup Cache. Okay, so we're duping currency and divination cards from boxes. And these points are also extremely important too when combining with the Discernment Scarab. So I mentioned that the Discernment Scarab was a real culprit to why this strat is so incredibly good. Paired with these points, it is now a 16x multiplier, I believe. This is 60% increased chance, would be multiplicative with the 10x multiplier from the Discernment Scarab. 16x multiplier to Arcanist and Diviners boxes, which makes truly, I mean, over half of the boxes that spawn, I think, are either Diviners or Arcanists on average. Something like that, which is, I mean, just try rolling the strat without a Discernment Scarab and you'll see you'll get almost none of them. Well, actually, let's go with the Scarabs and the maps, and then we'll do the investment costs after that. So I have 400 Chaos. This will cover the cost of Ambush on the map device, not Domination. I used to run Domination on this, but, you know, maybe those shrines do take off some strong boxes, and perhaps for this strat, it's just more important to have more strong boxes anyway. Although the quant rarity altars do matter a lot. They actually do impact the amount of quantity of currency and divination cards that drop out of those specialized boxes. But not the dupe altars, and the minion altars don't matter much. So, in that sense, the Eldritch minion packs are not quite so important. Anyway, we got 1 ambush. We got 1 of each. Just 1 of each. I kind of already talked about the Scarabs, and again, you can opt out of the Containment Scarab. But I think, with the current prices of everything, I still feel like this is under the price Scarab. You know, you guys know that the only reason why the Containment Scarab is not more priced than it is because so many people have opted to do the lower investment version. And the only reason the lower investment version is good is if you're running it on Citadel, where you're basically hybridizing the strat to be a boss rushing strat with chance to get reality and devouring fragments, high chance, and then you're also getting a little bit of loot on the side. And I would rather make this strat focus more on the box loot. What I'm actually target farming, and I honestly hate that boss anyway. So I'm going to be sticking with Sanctuary, which is a really nice layout, and probably has a better opportunity to spawn all the boxes anyway, and still get the Devouring Fragment. So that is why I'm doing this. I also like the fact that I'm getting a 31% chance to reopen boxes, not 16% through the Atlas alone. And I project that with the Containment Scarab, you're going to see the investment costs are about twice as much as they would be with a lesser investment version. I'll get a little bit less loot from raw monsters because there'll be fewer Eldritch packs to spawn, but I would suspect spawn at least twice as many boxes with twice the chance to reopen them that we normally have. So I should get actually more loot from boxes, more than twice as much loot from boxes relative to the cheaper version. So I think this strat is probably maybe a little bit better with containment if that is true. Okay. We got all the maps here, and also according to Fubgun's strat sheet is suggesting at least 2 currency or 2 scarab rolls, he said, or perhaps 1 of each is fine. And what you'll find is when I'm scrolling through here is that you see I did better than that. Actually, I have well, in some cases truly just 1 or 2 rolls, or I guess 2 rolls in total or better. A lot of these have 3 or 4 good rolls. Virtually every single map has a currency roll, so I'm giving these maps an extra chance to drop, you know, Sacred Orbs, Mirrors, Hinakoras, and still a good chance to drop Scarabs as well. But I will say this, I did some testing on the Pilfering Divination strat and was able to identify that the Diviner's Chisels do not increase the amount of Divination cards from Diviner's boxes, which is to suggest that the more Scarab and more currency, particularly the more currency roll, will not affect the amount of currency drops from the Arcanist strong boxes. It will affect it from the monsters they spawn, but not from the boxes themselves. So that's why I don't think it's actually that important to focus on the rolls of the map, except for the quantity roll, which is one more thing which I want to specify. The quantity roll is huge on all these maps. I think the quantity roll is likely higher than what most players are mandating. I mean, a lot of these are 150, 160 170% with chisels. They do have 20% quality chisels. Very high quant rolls on these, and this is the most important roll on the map if you care about the content from inside the boxes, which I do. Okay, so all the investment costs according to the app, of course it's going to be undervaluing everything, but 203 divine orbs. However, I went ahead and specifically dissected everything, looking at Faust's actual prices. 193 divines just for Scarabs. Okay, the containment Scarabs 1.75 each. The Discernment Scarabs 1 to 9 ratio, for example. 9 divines for Deli Orb. We're doing 20% Deli on each map, just because it's just a good idea to at least put a little bit of Deli on every map. Very cheap chisels. Maps are almost 1 divine each. Okay, so 95 divines there. 0 divines for rolls. Now, this obviously isn't exactly true, but I've been talking about this all league. I'm rolling maps. I'm making profit in the process. If you want to see what I'm talking about, look at this map. I would be curious to know what somebody would pay for this map. This was the best map that I rolled in the process of rolling these maps. This is Hall of Fame material map roll. Okay, this is antagonist with like 4 Scarab rolls. And I mean, I would personally probably pay 5 or 6 divines for that map myself. And that will be a map I use on the next strategy. Very nice. But you can roll maps like this that are even just half the amount of Scarabs. They're worth at least 3 divines each. And then I was also rolling maps for my own magic pack size farm on the side. So essentially, I'm not valuing anything in the map rolls for this. It's very easy to roll these maps, honestly. And I use the same regex I normally use because I'm checking for multiple different things at the same time. 3 divines on the map device. That's the 400 Scarabs, or 400 Chaos Orbs, I mean. Total investment cost 301 divine, 3 divines per map. Now, I still have the exact text from the last farm, because again, one thing I'm doing is I'm comparing this farm to last farm. So again, trying to be as apples as I can. I want to test the efficacy of this very well-known, very standardized, thought of very highly strategy. Many people think this is the best strategy overall, this league, and I want to compare it to the one I just did with the investment costs as they were when I did them, which I believe is fair. Now, some very important numbers I'm going to be looking at comparing is things like div per hour normalized against sacred orbs. One thing I also want to look at, which is something I added extra, was how many divine orbs per hour I'm getting, because I did boast last video's farm as a sort of mirror target, Hina core target farm, which, you know, we're target farming high tier currencies. Again, still speculation as to whether the wisps actually convert over at a better ratio than just normal drops, which may very well be the case. We'll assume for the time being that's not the case, although I continue testing that sort of thing. We'll look at sacred orbs, see how many of those drop. Dupes will count, because dupes will happen from the boxes, okay? I'll check gold per hour, but it's not going to be as impressive this time, I'm afraid. Yeah, and we'll look at, of course, div per map, div per hour, the value point, and I will liquidate things to Faustus like I did before. Okay, we do the exact same thing. So we've already got everything done. We already talked about the Scarabs, already talked about how I'm comparing last strat to this one. I'll be also comparing this strat to the next one, which will be rolling strong boxes compared to this. That'll be a really good, nice comparison, because it'll be exactly the same maps, essentially. Except they'll be all antagonists, and targeting Scarabs is slightly different farm, but the Scarab setup will be almost identical. So look forward to that one. But for now, we're going to run this setup here. Of course, this map I'll be saving. I got probably all the maps I need over here. And somebody died. Oh well. All right. Check out this map. Just to prove to you that I'm running some pretty premium maps for this strat. Okay, I'm not fudging the map rolls here. This is a much better than average map. All right, it's an antagonist modded map with a double currency roll and a Scarab roll. Just for this strat, you might think this map is a bit overqualified for this strategy, but anyway, this should be nice for a containment map. And again, I think rolling the maps are so easy as long as you're able to handle most of the downsides. Yeah, especially. So I can feel especially better if I'm doing the containment strat with better rolled maps like this. Okay, I usually choose domination, but here I'm going to be doing ambush on the map device. And we are go. Now, there are a few different ways you can clear this. If you want to be really particular, you can rush the boss and then try to mess with the influence after. I don't think there's enough influence monsters for that to really matter, so it's probably best to just start clearing going through. This strategy does take longer to complete a map. If you have a real nice zoomer build, then it does take longer to do these maps because I have to stop and open many boxes. And then I have to, like, wait for them to close because I might need to reopen them. So it's definitely, you know, whereas the last strategy I did was about 5 minutes per map, this is going to be closer to 6 or maybe 7 per map. Depends, you know, counting Wildwoods as well. And I will be doing the Wildwood, by the way. I'm not going to skip the Wildwoods. I think it's a good idea to do it if you can. Now, for my sake, you know, I could have problems with the boss, so it's probably a good idea for me to, you know, try to rack up some Headhunter buffs. Just go in here and knock him down. It's actually a little easier to get Headhunter buffs with this strat. Oh, we got an altar. Definitely going to want to pick the Quant option there. That will increase the amount of currencies from Arcanus. Look how many Arcanus boxes there are. I mean, it just seems like, again, half of them, maybe. Well, this is an antagonist map, so I'm going to actually have extra Headhunter buffs in this case. Okay, the 2 worst fragments. Yep, go figure. That's how it goes. Big chat asking, I saw you put Beyond. Fubgun put Beyond. Yeah, I already talked about that in the intro. I think Beyond is absolutely not... I think blocking the Scarabs alone is going to result in more overall currency than having Beyond on the maps. It's just an unfortunate thing. I have tested Beyond. I did test it once again with Beyond, and I just didn't see... I don't see anything except the occasional tainted chrome infusing drop. It's just... they're just not dropping anything. But then, you know, you see a bunch of garbage Scarabs because you're not blocking any. You don't have the points to spare for it. So I just think this is better. This strat doesn't drop a lot of Scarabs, though, even if you have more, because I can't get Scarabs. Like, again, the primary target is inside the strong boxes, right? But look, I mean, a few Scarabs are dropping, and I'm using the exact same filter I was using. All right, Omega Strict, haven't touched the filter at all. I actually do want to make it a little more strict, but I'm holding back. I'm going to keep using the exact same filter. There's a Diviner's box, a couple of them here. They're randomly rolled, so they're not going to be all that great, but a little bit of extra currency will come through there. And honestly, if this strat is better, I think it will be riding on the jackpot Diviner drop more than anything. I think that will be kind of the X factor that might potentially make this. But I really am looking forward to seeing how many Divine Orbs overall drop from this. Especially per map investment cost. Really looking forward to seeing that. I've done a little bit of testing on it, but I have my doubts that it's going to be significantly higher than the Magic Pack size influence strat. Especially on a per time, per investment cost basis. So this strategy does cost more per map. They might maybe not right this second because of the insane price fixing going on, which has been simmering down a bit, to be fair. But also, this is the higher investment version, so you at least have some options for this strat to do lower investment versus high. And a lot of people favor the lower investment one. They just... running Fortress. I don't recommend Fortress for the lower investment strat, but I do for the higher investment. That's a good option. Ah, there we go. We got the Dupe Divine. Okay, at the very beginning of the second map. There it is, Dupe Divine. Arcanus box. Rolled pretty well with a max flat chance, 14 additional items. 8 Chaos Orbs, wow. Wonder how many Wildwoods I'll get. 2 fortunates. Wedding gifts. That's some dust. This is where all that extra currency comes in, the reopens on Arcanist boxes. Look at that. It's like 6th time I've opened this box. Too bad it's... Well, actually, it's rolled pretty well. Got 99% quant. My goodness. I opened it like 8 times. Still didn't drop anything, though. Yeah, the bubbles are bad. Keep in mind, this is a pretty solid wild-wooded map. And I've gotten a Baldo's box and a Divine. So I think that key actually dropped from the box. Reliquary keys can't drop from a box. So I got a good Wildwood map and 2 tinks from monsters on account of the Wildwood, and then one tink from the box. We interrupt your scheduled programming for 150 million shipment. Oh. 1? Good thing I only used 3 million dust. For all the people there saying that you're supposed to use a bunch of dust. 3 power rooms, 6 divines, and 3 sacred orbs. I don't know what's going on with my luck. It's so bad. So bad. So I've sent 350 million shipments, and I've gotten a total of 4 mirror shards. No, sorry, a total of 3 mirror shards with 350 million shipments. How bad is that? How effing bad is that? Dude. Why would you even bother with like lower investment boxes? Like, why would you just throw it? I think the Discernment Scarab should cost 1 divine each, and Containment should cost 2 divines each. That would actually make sense to me in my head. My strat on Ziggurat? Yeah, it's all right there. Yeah. Not a bad choice. I think the big reason why it sucks is because of the boss, but if you like the boss fragments are good. Fine. Did I wisp this map? There's proof that the Voidborn Reliquary Key can't dupe off the box. Eldritch Chaos is another div, almost. Hangman Scarab would go up in value, and that would actually make sense. Wait, that's not actually a good card anymore. Unlucky. Unlucky drop. Unlucky card, oh no. That's worth it. What is it worth? Like 1.5 divines? Oh god. Gotta kill this guy the hard way. Double reality fragment off of the Sanctuary boss? Okay. What the hell? You know how rare that is? I don't think I've ever seen that in my entire life. Off this boss. Double reality fragment. Uh-oh, guys. I might do an entire map without a single tink. Only got like 5 boxes left. Might happen. A no tink map. It's gonna happen. I can't even do it. Can't not do it. God, I almost made it to the end of the map. No, I legitimately wanted to not happen because it's starting to get weird. Orb of Annulment, even. Two maps, 0 tink, so obviously, you're just not a streamer then. Evidently, more currency multiplier applies to the boxes. I'm still kind of iffy on that, but it looks like it does. Because, I mean, I'm dropping... I ran this strat earlier this league. I did not get anywhere near... I didn't get anywhere near a full divine per map that I ran. That's not a thing. But I had to worry much more about the map modifiers not breaking my build, so I couldn't really prioritize currency rolls. And I think if anything, I was prioritizing Scarab rolls more anyway. Because you remember earlier this league, it was all about Scarab farming, right? And you would get the Divine and Valdo dupe occasionally anyway, but it wasn't like you would roll your maps anticipating those drops more. But, you know, I'm kind of in the middle of discovering here that the best way to do this farm might actually be over-prioritizing currency. Like mandating 200% more currency roll on a map, doing containment, higher investment. You justify spending more currency per map. And you're just going to get a lot of these Divines and Valdos. Not digs. Duped Sacred Orb again. Alright, well, I found more Sacred Orbs on this strat than the other one. That doesn't automatically mean the Sacred to Mirror ratio is the same, but I mean, presumably is. Wouldn't know. An Enlightened support and 2 Avian Pursuit. Wow. Shield Bearer? What's going on with these 2 Diviners? Or 1 Diviner, I guess. What else are you gonna drop? You gonna drop something else crazy? No? Okay. I don't really know what settling means. I'm not gonna settle on like a nothing suffix. Yeah, I've decided if I'm going to do that. Like, that would be a nice, you know, Uber chase goal. It's also, not that I really care about standard, but at least for now, it is a BIS standard item. Also, I want one that's with fire, which would be, like, crazy for... Oh my god, 2 Sacred Orbs again. Which would be crazy for, I guess, Righteous Fire or something. Or, you know, some iconic builds. Million boat yesterday, 6 div, 4 Sacred. And no power charges? Oh my god, is this a no currency map? Oh fuck. This is no currency roll currency map. Duh, I still got 1 Sacred Orb. I just dropped a random Sacred Orb on a no currency map with purple blue juice. Ah. Dude, why is this on like the one map that doesn't have any currency on? No, I don't think blue reduced the ratio. I think it's purple. I think blue just gives you more currency drops. Maybe converts loot over to currency, but I don't think it reduces the ratio. Ooh, I got a 3 adrenaline. Wow, that's worth 10 chaos. This map mod slows me down so much. Only for boxes, though. Because I'd already be out of here, looted everything, killed everything right now. If it was... Wealth and Power. That might actually be a real card. If I remember correctly. C was 100 per div and... what the heck? 2 Sacred Orbs again and a Divine Orb. 3 Valos and 2 Sephiroths. Ooh. What was that? Wow. Containment Scarab. God. Desecrated Virtue again? Or no, Desecrated Virtue is a different one I got. That's still a really good one, I think. I was thinking of Wealth and Power. Came a little bit ago. More Scarabs. Actually making a ton of currency this map. Buy! Get your Scarabs back! Quickly while the rate's still good. Get those containment Scarabs, or just drop them like I do. Sustain the strat. I wish the best version of the strat was actually with a Horned Awakened Scarab. To get more unique Arcanist boxes. That'd be amazing. Containment. Too bad that's not very good though. 2 of the Immortal? Whoa! Is that a real one? Is that a real one? Super late real card drop? Tend to cater to the more hardcore side of the player base. I've had a lot of time to accumulate a lot of currency to get a lot of really good gear. Have great builds. Quite often there are people that don't really care about making currency for, wow, for a build per se. They just like getting loot. The loot player. We got Valos and Div Dupe off the same Arcanist box, same opening. That's pretty freaking rare. But I've only got, I feel like I might have miscounted the Wildwoods. Probably got 7 or 8, but definitely, I mean, I got 14 Wildwoods last time. Not getting the Wildwood very much. You're hoping PoE 2 is more similar to D2? Similar to D2? Speaking of it, manifested it into reality. Easy. Do you mean by like the tone or the actual gameplay? I could see it being as in terms of like the tone, yeah, but not like I think the gameplay is probably gonna be quite robust. Here we go. Results. Dump tabs first, just so you can see what it looks like. Definitely fills up a lot of dump tabs. Divination cards. It's going to be a little annoying to deal with. I must say, either turning them in or liquidating them, but we'll give it a try. A lot of currency and scarabs otherwise. Not as many scarabs as the previous strategy. More currency than the previous strategy. At least the mid-tier stuff. And yeah, a lot of boss fragments too. Not very many uniques overall. Here's the breakdown initially. So this is pre-liquid. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time and liquidate everything in kind of a short period of time to give kind of a final results, because this is stuff that is really easy to liquidate. We got the breakdown up here, fragments and currency. Currency is actually on top. Fragments includes Valdo's boxes at like 94 div over this. It's like 260 something div there, and like 100 div in fragments. And then one of the more interesting things on this breakdown for me is divination cards, 134 divines and divination cards. And it certainly doesn't feel like I got anywhere near that much, but that's just all that stuff adding up. I mean, it's so many. Breakdown here, I only got one really good card, and that was the Immortal. Duped, some 7 years, some Sephiroth. The more is never enough. I'm picking up all these. I'm not sure if I can liquidate those or not. I will try, though. Fortunates, of course, and Avian Pursuit, I guess. But, I mean, there's still a lot in here where, like, the total value is, like, 1 div or so. A lot of cards. The Scarabs is an interesting one, too. Definitely fewer Scarabs than the previous farm. Or at least it felt that way. Started off really cold. I did prioritize currency a little more than Scarabs, but we got 14 containment. And the same exact filter as before on that. One interesting outlier, especially compared to the last farm, is I got way luckier on the devouring fragments. So last time devouring fragments was the lowest number. I think I got like 40 of them or less, I believe. And then this time is the highest representation. 56 of that. Blazing was 47, and Awakening was 44. They all have the identical drop rate, I believe. Devouring is the only one that's actually worth like a lot. So a little lucky there. That's not going to skew things terribly much, though, in this sample size. So yeah, Scarabs, currency, and divination cards. I'm going to liquidate what I can. I'll go down to, I don't know, probably no further down than like 2 divines for this one. That is a lot of stuff, but I can definitely liquidate like everything that's here on the front page. Should be, or just, I mean, turning it in, I guess. We'll do that. Okay. All right, finally got the results after liquidating everything. It was harder to liquidate stuff. You see the number up here is a little higher than it was. 51 divines more to liquidate. I did not like go through and get everything above 1 divine. It was actually a much bigger headache to do. A lot of it dealt with divination cards that don't really liquidate for much more than their value. In some cases less. And, you know, I had fewer Scarabs to turn in, which was annoying because trying to get the divine ratios on that. You could do Chaos Orbs, but I feel like Divine Orbs usually a little bit better. A few things have lost value, like the Reality Fragment. Decaying Fragment's gone way up in value, so I don't know. I think things are coming out pretty equal. But the point I want to make here is that the whole liquidation process was definitely inferior for this farm than the last farm. But yeah, I got a lot of divines and chaos. I got rid of the really big stuff. Here is a notepad with the numbers. Okay, look at this. We got the comparison. So this down here is last time's farm with the magic influence pack size. This right here is today's farm. These are the numbers for today. Investment costs 3 divines per map. Basically, gross 665 div. Net 364, so the net is higher. The time is also higher, though. It took me about 12.5 hours to do this farm, all the maps, and about half an hour of liquidating. Last time it was a little over 9 hours, just so you're aware. Divines per map. Oh yeah, the investment cost is also a little higher, although now they're probably about the same. Divines per map is 3.6, which, look, if you compare, it's almost the same. And then 29 divines per hour. It was actually lower than the other number, and that's what I actually made. Now, I think I got maybe a little bit unlucky on divination card value overall. I don't know, you tell me. I had like 120 divines worth of divination card value. I basically got a little over 1 divine per map in divination cards. To me, that's probably a little bit unlucky for this strat. But I did get way luckier this time on devouring fragments, and that does matter. I think I got like an extra 30 the disparity was probably about 15-20 divine difference in devouring frags. But anyway, we got normalized numbers. I'll get to that in a second. Gold per map is a little less. Sorry, that's not the right number. 92,000. Gold per hour, 736,000, which I was doing over 1 million. So we already knew that the gold per hour was stellar for the previous strat. I actually have like an additional 24% increased rarity on my gear now that I didn't have before. So if anything, that was pumping up this number even more. Raw divines per hour, 6.75 before and 7.28 last time. This was a big number I wanted to compare because I knew the Sacred Orb number may not represent real good data after 100 maps, and indeed that kind of what happened. So we got a little bit of an issue here with tracking the divine to sacred to mirror drop rates. For some reason, last time I dropped 3 Sacred Orbs and 63 divines. This time I dropped 12 Sacred Orbs and 91 divines. Okay, those ratios are wildly off. Especially if wisping gives you even better ratios. If that is the case, that still remains to be seen. Now, those were dupes, all of them except 2. So 5 Sacred Orb dupes from Strongboxes and 2 separate Sacred Orb drops. But I'm just guessing that I got lucky on Sacred Orbs this time and got unlucky on Sacred Orb last time. But anyway, using the same formula I did last time, I at least did the numbers and did it that way as before. Would be 9.5 div per map with a Hina core value. I mean, basically getting 2 Hina core locks in 100 maps is what this would showcase, more or less. And 365 divines worth of mirror, giving me 76 divines per hour normalized. And I do not think that is actually accurate. Most likely too high. So here's what I did. Here's something I was able to do to kind of compromise these numbers a little bit. So I was also, of course, tracking divines. I said 91 divines this time, 63 divines last time, using that ratio instead of Sacred Orbs and cross-referencing it with how I scaled it with Sacred Orbs last time. It was not too difficult to do the math on that, so that came out to these numbers instead at 6.1 divines normalized per map and 48 divines per hour normalized. That's tracking against divine orbs instead of Sacred Orbs when trying to figure out or anticipate the Hina cores and mirrors. So this strategy today is obviously a little bit less of a lock mirror target farm because I'm spending more time in map, diversifying the loot more with divination cards and scarabs, but currency is still a big part of it. It is still legitimately, I think, a solid way to target farm those, and when you do drop one, it's probably going to dupe. So that is important. That's why it's valid to count duped Sacred Orb, because guess what? Drop a mirror in the same way, it's also duped. And there are people who have reported duping mirrors this way in Hina cores locks, but it does seem to be a bit rarer overall. We'll get to a little bit more on that at the final thoughts. Right now, I'm gonna do what gambling I can, not with Valdo's boxes, but with some uniques and stacked decks. I think a few things to corrupt here. Harbinger fragments. Oh my gosh. That was bad. Nothing good. Actually had almost 100 stacked decks too. You know, it looks like I did maybe a little bit better than I thought I did initially on uniques. Didn't get a tier 0, but here we go. Some big uniques. Ooh, spell block off of already perfect roll. Unholy Might, Void Battery. I don't think so. What about this block? I wonder about this. Wait, this is actually value. This is 1% away from absolute perfect spell block. That's actually really big. Looks like it's actually worth like 10 or 20 divines. Unless it's just one of those things where nobody really knows. I'll never hit the Secrets of Suffering, man. Armor while stationary. Well, still okay, I guess. Reduced ignite duration? No. Okay. I got one big one. This is a big one. Okay. Put that to the side. All right. Well, I should give my final thoughts on this farm. So this was an impromptu farm that resulted on account of some feedback from the previous farm I did. People suggesting this one would maybe be better overall. As well as anticipating the following one, which is going to be 100 maps of all-in Scarab, Antagonist, Nemesis, Strongbox, Containment, Rolling Boxes, strat also on Sanctuary, for which I've saved many maps for that. So look forward to this. Wait, here, yeah, something this farm right here. Maps like this, 100% more Scarabs, Antagonists roll in there. That's going to be really good. But anyway, for this farm, I think, underestimating the fact that more currency multiplier actually works on boxes. Kind of discovered later on it, and it sort of dawned on me based on information I got with the Divination Chisel not working for Diviner's boxes, which is something I definitely tested earlier this week. That has to do with the programming of how the percent more multiplier works. It adjusts the weighting of the drops so that it favors the item in question. So it's favoring divination card drops out of whatever is dropping. Well, if it's a Diviner's box, it's a 100% chance to be divination cards anyway, so it's ineffective, rendered ineffective. The same is true, I believe, with currency multiplier for Arcanist boxes, which, from my estimate, is roughly 2/3 to 3/4 of all the currency that drops. So you would think maybe currency multiplier doesn't really matter. And this was a giant question throughout the entire farm. Does the percent more currency multiplier matter very much for this farm as it, relates to Scarab farm? The problem with the Scarab focus is, we're already going to shrines and strong boxes. I don't really have any extra points for Scarab. Not much. I'm not doing much on the Scarab. And I was honestly very disappointed with how few Scarabs dropped at this farm. I feel like the loss of Scarabs is made up for in more divination cards. Maybe it's kind of even there, or maybe the divination cards more than make up for it on average. But indeed, the percent more currency did result in more currency. And I think when I did these strats more earlier this league, off stream, when I was worried more about rolling maps that I could run, I'm doing that a lot less now, and actually rolling maps that are just rolled well with good Scarab and currency roll, I'm getting more currency this time around. And it dawned on me that the regular strong boxes, ornate strong boxes, etc., are affected by the percent more currency roll. So when you get currency out of those boxes, they still dupe. They actually dupe on stacks, or not stacked up, but separate drops. So if you see, like, you'll notice if you get a duped Divine Orb out of an Arcanist box, it's 2x Divine Orb. But if it's a Divine Orb, that means it came out of a regular box. And that happens a lot too. The same could happen for locks or mirrors or whatever. So that added up to more currency. And you saw I had a much higher absolute number of boxes and Divine Orbs. Sacred Orbs aside. I think the Sacred Orb thing was a fluke, honestly. Just got lucky this time, unlucky last time. But the numbers as far as like per hour, per map, seem to shape about what I thought it would. It is an S tier farm. The farm today is an S tier farm. It's really good with containment. I don't know why these Scarabs are as cheap as they are. Actually, I kind of do know why. Containment Scarabs should be more expensive, but on account of people switching over to lower investment version, that allows the Containment Scarab to stay cheaper. But the reason why the lower investment one is still good is because you still run the Discernment Scarab, which is dropping too often for it to be bad for the lower investment one. So I think it's a surprise, really, that the Discernment Scarab is as cheap as it is, or is as common as it is. Probably should be more rare, because that would have actually leveled everything out a little more evenly to make this farm cost more to get more back. I was quite surprised at how much currency you're able to get per map on average. And again, I don't think I was actually that lucky on divination cards. Not like I got a House of Mirrors or something. during this whole entire 100 maps. I mean, God knows how many Diviners boxes open. Probably 300 or so Diviners. No, counting reopens, probably like closer to 400 or 500 Diviners boxes open. And for an Immortal to be the best card by far, that's not very lucky, actually. Take it from me, as somebody who did the pilfering strat for a long time. Anyway, yeah. So that's my thoughts. The farm is a little bit better than I thought in some ways. Maybe a little bit worse than I thought in other ways, like the liquidation aspect of it was more painful. And therefore, I got a little bit less bonus currency through liquidating to Faustus. Still recommend this farm, definitely. Do I think this farm is better than the one I did last time? Obviously, I'm biased because I did say the last, with the Magic Pack size farm, I felt like it was better. And I gave numerous reasons for that. One of them being it was very high currency per hour. Not that I necessarily thought it was the absolute best. But I still think this is not as enjoyable. It was definitely not as enjoyable to run this farm. Kind of tired of boxes anyway, in a way, even though I'm about to do some more. Yeah, so is everybody else. So I'm rather just kind of blast through a map more quickly and get a whole bunch of loot in a shorter period of time, which is actually the case. At least the numbers came out to about even overall with quality of the farm. But that's nice. You got choices. And things, I guess, are balanced out. The investment costs are fairly balanced out. I think the spike in the cost of the Bloodline Scarab and the Maving Chisels resulted in probably going to use normal chisels now, just roll the maps even better. One of the downsides to the Magic Pack size farm is that I'm sort of mandating some pretty well-rolled maps, which means they're going to be kind of harder because they're going to have like 6 tier 17 mods, and like 4 of them are good. And those are going to be some hard maps, and you're going to spend more chaos to hit those mods. I was a little bit looser with the map rolling, so for people who absolutely despise rolling maps for like upsides or downsides, whatever reason, they can't stand doing it, they might like this farm better because it's probably a little more forgiving. And I think the Scarab and currency roll matters less here because, again, it doesn't matter at all for the Arcanist box, just quantity. It does. Alright, so yeah, a lot to like about both farms, I guess you could say. That's it for this one. I will get busy setting up another one for 100 maps of rolling boxes. That one's going to take a long time. So the first farm took 9 hours. This farm took over 12 hours. Next one's going to be like 20 hours to do 100 maps or something. Woo! Better get ready. But anyway, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. A lot of links down there. Path of Building, Atlas, filters, timestamps, all of it. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I'm out for now. See you in the next one.